Yes, you are listening to the Ready, Set, Retire radio podcast with Steve Anzoni. My name is Jessica Forkel. Get more details on the website at fairwayfinancial.net. Now, we've seen the market go up. We've seen it kind of trickle down a little bit over the past couple weeks here, and we've been hearing the word recession a lot lately. Well, Market Watch interviewed 6 different financial professionals and asked, if you're worried about a recession, what should you do? Here are some of the responses they had. Number 1, build up cash reserves. Number 2, pay off high-interest debt. Number 3, consider adjusting your risk by rebalancing. And number 4, don't try to time the market. And last but not least, stay calm. So, Steve, what are your thoughts on this list here?
I like it. I try to talk to people and pretty much use the same language, is to get rid of your credit card debt, which is your high interest debt. If you have a mortgage under 3.5%, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't pay it off. It's still
leave it alone.
Cheap,
right.
It's cheap money, right? Rebalancing is definitely the ticket to look at your stuff, especially if you're, late 50s, early 60s, right? And that, retirement's closing in. You definitely want to pay a little bit more attention. And, summer is gone now. So not all the excuses, but most of them are gone now. It's the fall and summer's over. So we can't use the traffic excuse, the tourists and all that stuff. It is a beautiful time of year on the Cape and everywhere, really, in the fall up here, to get some work done. I mean, you've got 4 months roughly of planning to do before year end. I mean, think about that. You can still do some great tax planning between now and the end of the year to catch up on what's going on. Should you do a Roth conversion, right? Does it make sense for you? We can talk about that. But staying calm is absolutely one of the biggest keys when it comes to money. It's just, I love those things you see out there, stay calm, and Bergeron is one of ours because of Patrice Bergeron up here. But
yeah.
I just immediately thought of that. But seriously, you don't want to overreact. That's the worst thing in the world you can do, is like, oh, the world is falling and this and that.
You got to keep the emotions out of it.
I mean, look,
that's the bottom line.
The market goes up, the market goes down. I mean, the market was still over. It was close to 41,000. All right, that number is still a huge number. I mean, yes, it's been fluctuating, but you know what? That's what it does. It's done this forever. Okay, it doesn't mean that you run away from it, and it doesn't mean that you pour more money into it. What it means is you give some thought to a income plan, okay? Most people don't think about an income plan. They just think about retiring and taking or when to take Social Security, right? Because most people have that and most people don't have a pension. Well, I'd like to add one thing when you're considering retiring is think of, how do I replace my working paycheck with a non-working paycheck? I spoke with a gentleman, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, because I was away last week. And he's a great guy. We had a really good conversation, and it came down to that exact language. He goes, I'm still working. I'm in my 70s, and I enjoy what I'm doing. But in about 2 to 3 years, I want to call it a day. And I need to figure out how to replace my working check with non-working income. And I loved it. I said, perfect. I go, that's exactly what I do for people. And I shared with him a plan that he just kind of shook his head at. He goes, wow. He goes, are these numbers right? And I looked at him. I go, I know. I double-checked too. They are 100% accurate. And you can literally, in his case, it was roughly $500,000, generating close to $60,000 a year with a 2-year deferral. I mean, think about what I just said, $60,000 a year. If you had a pension of $60,000, you would need roughly 1.5 in a 401k to make that happen long term, to give yourself a 99.9% chance that you weren't going to run out of money. That's that rule of 4%, which we're going to talk about later in the show.
Yes, we are, yeah.
You would need roughly $1.5 million. Mm-hmm. I just did this with this guy with $500,000 in writing, Jess, for the rest of his life, not a maybe. And that's what kind of blew him away. So the numbers are still very, very good. Now, they are starting to trend downward because, as you know, the Treasury bill, and the rates have all started to drop a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that has an effect on everything. Interest rates in the banks, interest rates in annuities, and, on a positive side, interest rates on mortgages for those looking for either a refi or a new home. I mean, they're coming down a little bit, and that's going to help people. I mean, the problem around our area is the inventory is still low. So that's the biggest challenge, not so much the rates, Jess. So I love what these people had to say. Build up cash reserves, pay off high debt, rebalance. Definitely don't try to time the market. That's crazy. It's definitely something that's going to end badly. And stay calm. That's the key. Come in, have a talk with me, and say, all right, here's where I'm at, Steve, and here's where I'm trying to go. Can you help me? Can you give me some ideas and thoughts? And I can, and I will. That's what I've been doing for over 35 years.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. So give us a buzz at 508-552-3230, or you can visit the website at fairwayfinancial.net and just say, hey, I heard you on the show. I've been listening a while, and I'd love to talk with you either on the phone or coming in our beautiful office here in Hyannis on Main Street. And we'd love to have you in and see the office and meet the staff.
Absolutely.
And if you can't do that, if you're still working, whatever, you want to talk at 4:30, 5, 6 o'clock at night, that's fine. I'm there for you, too.
Now, this so-called 4% rule, it's been around for a long time. It's been around over 30 years. And economist Michael Fink, he tells The Street that for most, the rule is actually too conservative for human nature.
I think people should decide if they want to live better in their late 60s and 70s when you do have the physical capabilities and the cognitive capabilities to enjoy your life more. I mean, there's not a whole lot of 95-year-olds that are going on world vacations. And the fact is that you can't enjoy it as much in your 90s as you could in your 60s or 70s. So I think you should have the power to be able to choose the slope of your spending. And in reality, it does appear that people do spend less as they get older.
So I want to know your thoughts on this, because I think it's interesting that a lot of people say, well, this rule is outdated, it's too old. I mean, do you take a similar approach when you're calculating withdrawals for clients? And do you still believe in this 4% rule?
I've never believed in the 4% rule. I think it's just a number that was tossed out there to make the hypotheticals look better. I totally agree with Mike there. People do live better lives in their 60s and 70s than they do in their 80s and 90s. It's just a fact. And, my folks are still with us. They're 91 and 88, and they don't get out much at all. Now, I know some people who are 83, 84, like my mother-in-law. She gets out. She goes on a cruise, and she'll do things. So it's cool, and I'm happy for her. But I think he's right. I think the slope should be adjusted. I think you should try to generate more income in your 60s and 70s and maybe early 80s. And less down the road. I mean, remember, Social Security is going to be there, and there's a slight CPI adjustment to it. I like that. Remember, a 401k is not a pension plan. It never was designed to be a lifetime check. I mean, you should have lifetime income, don't get me wrong, just because of inflation and bills and stuff. I mean, bills are going to be there in your late 80s and 90s. Even though you don't travel as much, you're still going to have a budget. And that's why I've always felt that you need buckets for reasons. And the first bucket is the income bucket, and that is the base bucket. I always call it that. And Social Security is a staple in that bucket. If you have a pension, wow, that's a huge staple in that bucket. And then the other thing we subsidize that with is a lifetime income annuity, which is a guaranteed paycheck for life. So if you have the first bucket set up properly, then your 401k, your risk bucket, can be treated differently. You can use it more aggressively, and you could take more income while you're healthier and younger. And I 100% am on board with that, because the stabilization bucket or income bucket will be there for you for life, no matter what. It doesn't matter what the economy is doing. It's going to replace your check with the Social Security, the pension, and the lifetime annuity. So, yeah, I'm a big fan. Spend your money. It's your money. I've always felt that my clients should take care of the money first, use it for them first, and what's left for the kids and the grandkids. And if you are very intent on setting up a legacy plan, the best and least expensive way to do it, and by the way, no taxes either, is with life insurance. And I know you're thinking, oh, well, I'm in my 60s or whatever. There's life insurance for people in their 60s and 70s. So I love leverage, okay? Leverage your money. That's how banks make money. That's how billionaires make money. Why can't regular working people use the same leverage to create a better estate, okay, a more tax-efficient estate? What's wrong with that? It doesn't have to be just for the wealthy. You give me a call, and I will help you and show you these ideas, right? 508-552-3230. That's 508-552-3230. And we'll have a conversation about income, about leverage, about what we just talked about with the 4% rule and being able to take more while you're healthier and do trips. That's what I enjoy doing, Jess. I love sitting with people, sharing my years and years of knowledge. And, it's not, I don't, trust me, I don't know everything out there. Believe me, okay? And that's why I work with a team. I have an attorney. I call him my money guy who does the market stuff. I just focus on making sure my customers have enough income that they're not going to have to worry about running out of money, which is a fear. Okay, it's the number one fear. If we can eliminate that from day one, then you can just focus on the fun part and the enjoyment part of why you worked so hard for most of your life.
Steve, you've been doing this for over 30 years, right? So you have seen the market up, down. You've been through election after election. You've been through inflation cycles. You've kind of seen it all. And, I know the election is very top of mind for a lot of folks right now, wondering what will happen, who's going to be in the White House, how will that affect the markets, my Social Security. Basically, will the outcome of the election impact my income and my financial plan? Quickly, what's your thoughts on that?
These elections happen every 4 years. It's always a big buildup. It's always a life-threatening thing. If this person doesn't get in, the world's going to end, or all this stuff. I mean, they do a great job selling these elections, right? I mean, that's
selling
their job.
Selling the panic, yeah.
Oh, my God, they do. They sell the panic. And, yeah, there are going to be some differences between every candidate. And as you saw when Trump was in, the taxes did get lower. You can argue everything. You can argue about his hair. You can argue about his ego. You can say whatever you want about the guy. But the fact is that the federal tax brackets have never been this low in the last 30 years. And that's it. You can't argue that. Okay? So that happened. And that can go away. It will go away. It'll sunset January 1st of 2025. That's something that might be on people's mind. The bottom line is, even though the economy hasn't been great and inflation's been brutal, okay, and you can't argue that there hasn't been inflation out there, because try to go into a grocery store and see how far $100 will get you walking up and down an aisle. Okay?
Yeah, not very far.
So if you don't think there's been a ton of inflation, go do that. Gas prices, they've crept up again a little bit very quietly. But this is going to happen. And again, I don't try to live my life on, oh my God, who's in office? The world's going to change. I'm going to move if such and such gets in. I'm going to another state, or I'm going to another country, or all this stuff. I think that's a little over the top. I mean, remember what we talked about at the beginning of the show. Stay calm.
That's right.
That's the key. I mean, we all have our biases, and we all want certain people to be in office, including me. But that doesn't mean that if that person's not in, it's going to be the end of the world. But no, all I'm saying is just keep your head. You're going to vote for who you vote for, and it's going to happen. I guess what I'm saying is, don't base your future on who's in office for the next 4 years. In the long run, it's going to be a blip on the map. So what you really should do is do what you can control, and that is to see where you are today, to understand what you have today, what risk you have today, the fees and everything about it, and find out, are there ways that you can improve your financial situation, okay, or get more educated about it now, because that's what you can control. And that's what we are here to do at 508-552-3230. Again, we can't we can't go through the radio and, and pull you over and say, hey, you got to see me today. You have to make that first step. You got to do it. So make the commitment to at least make the call and find out. And I got to tell you, people have been listening for years, and I've never seen more people make more phone calls in the last few months. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot going on out there, Jess. People are concerned because we've been busier than we've ever been in 35 years. Okay?
Yeah.
This is the busiest we've ever been.
Get more details on the website, fairwayfinancial.net. That's fairwayfinancial.net.
Steve Anzoni is a licensed insurance provider by the Division of Insurance and is not registered as an investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve Anzoni, Massachusetts Insurance License 3851053. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Steve Anzoni is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Steve Anzoni is licensed in your state, please call 508-398-3337.